Imagine waking up tomorrow and coffee's illegal. Crazy, right? Now replace coffee with booze and you've got Prohibition America. It's 1920, alcohol's outlawed, and half the country would do some unspeakable things for a drink. Enter you, the bootlegger, the person who's about to get filthy rich off everyone else's thirst. You think you've got what it takes? Let's see if you can survive a day in the life without ending up in jail, or worse. And hey, if you make it to the end of this video without getting arrested, that's already longer than most bootleggers lasted in real life. Before we dive into this booze-soaked criminal underworld, do me a favor. See that like button? Smash it harder than a party-pooping Prohibition agent smashes a barrel of whiskey. It's probably the only legal thing you'll do in the next 10 minutes. Now let's talk business. It's 1920 and some pathetic politicians just passed the 18th Amendment making it illegal to produce, transport, or sell alcohol. They thought this would solve all of America's problems. Spoiler alert, it backfired worse than lighting a cigarette in a moonshine shed. But for you, my entrepreneurial friend, it's the criminal opportunity of a lifetime. First things first, you need booze. And no, I don't mean that dishwater your Uncle Jim calls moonshine. That stuff's more likely to make you go blind than see dollar signs. You've got two options. Make it yourself or smuggle it in. Let's break it down. Option 1, become a moonshiner. Sounds romantic, right? Just you, a copper still, and the great outdoors. Well, hold on to your hat, because it's about as romantic as a root canal. You'll be sweating in the woods, constantly looking over your shoulder for feds, bears, and nosy neighbors. One wrong move, and you're not just ruining a batch, you're starring in your own personal fireworks show. But let's say you've got the skills of a chemist and the luck of a leprechaun. You might just make it work. Your specialty? Something called bathtub gin. And yes, it's exactly what it sounds like. You're literally mixing alcohol and flavorings in a bathtub. Classy, right? It tastes like regret and smells like bad decisions. But hey, beggars can't be choosers in a dry country. Option 2, smuggling. This is where the real adventure begins. You're not just a bootlegger now. You're an international rum runner. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? Well, hold on to your fedora because it's about to get wild up in here. Your first stop? Canada, where the booze flows like water and the border guard's morals are more flexible than a yoga instructor. You hop in your souped-up Model T, and by souped up, I mean it might actually go faster than an asthmatic tortoise. You're headed to the Great White North, where the only thing more frozen than the landscape is the ethical compass of the border officials. But this ain't no Sunday drive. You've got more people trying to catch you than a greased pig at a county fair. Feds, rival gangs, haters, and snitches. It's like a game of cat and mouse, except there are about 50 cats, and you're a very small, very nervous mouse carrying a cargo of liquid gold. Pro tip, always keep some cash handy for bribes. It's cheaper than a lawyer and probably more effective. A few well-placed bills can make border guards turn their backs on you like a politician after an election. Now let's say you've made it back with your liquid cargo. Congrats! You've survived longer than a snowman in the Sahara. But don't crack open the champagne just yet because now comes the really tricky part. Distribution. Welcome to the world of Speakeasies, the Prohibition equivalent of a criminal networking event. These secret bars are hidden better than Jimmy Hoffa. They could be anywhere: barbershops, laundromats, funeral homes. Nothing says rest in peace like a stiff drink, am I right? To get into these liquid layers, you need a password. It's like a real-life version of every spy movie you've ever seen. Except instead of state secrets, you're protecting bathtub hooch. Passwords change faster than fashion trends, so you better keep your ear to the ground. Today it might be, the owl hoots at midnight. Tomorrow it could be, my grandmother's pickle recipe calls for extra vinegar. Don't ask, just go with it. Now, if you're enjoying this criminal crash course, why not share it with your friends? Who knows, maybe you'll inspire the next Al Capone. Just kidding. Unless? Let's talk business. You're not in this for your health. Trust me, bootleg liquor is doing nothing for your liver. You're in it for cash. Cold, hard, and more than you can count. If you've made it this far without getting pinched, you're sitting on more dough than a bakery during a yeast shortage. But don't start planning your retirement just yet, Rockefeller. This game's got more hands in the pot than bodies in a river. You've got the mob breathing down your neck, demanding their cut. They're like the world's scariest tax collectors, except their audits involve much more physical pain. Then there are the cops. Some are honest and want to throw you in the slammer. But others, let's just say their palms are greasier than a mechanic's rag. They want their cut too, and if you don't pay up, suddenly they remember how to do their jobs. And let's not forget your friendly neighborhood rival gangs. They're just itching to use you for target practice or take over your territory. It's like a never-ending game of Monopoly, except go to jail isn't just a square on the board, and Boardwalk is a red-soaked alley. One day you're living it up, drinking real champagne with movie stars and crooked politicians. You're wearing suits that cost more than most people's cars and eating at restaurants where the menu doesn't even have prices. You're the king of the underworld, baby. But the next day, you might be hiding in a dumpster, praying that smell is just rotten bananas and not your rotting dreams. You're running faster than a politician from the truth, with your heart pounding harder than a jazz drummer on the White Stuff. One wrong move, and you're trading your fancy suit for striped pajamas, making license plates instead of martinis. It's a roller coaster ride that makes those Coney Island death traps look like kiddie swings. The highs are higher than the Empire State Building, but the lows? Let's just say they make the Grand Canyon look like a sidewalk crack. Now let's talk about the wider impact of your little entrepreneurial venture. Prohibition didn't just create criminals, it created an entire underground economy. Suddenly, otherwise law-abiding citizens were breaking the law left and right. Grandma's special apple pie? Yeah, that kick isn't just from the cinnamon. The local priest's holy water? It's got a proof higher than your IQ. And it's not just drinking that's changed. The entire social scene has gone underground. Speakeasies become the hottest spots in town, where the music is hot, the drinks are cold, and the dancing is scandalous. You've got flappers doing the Charleston, jazz bands playing till dawn, and more illicit activity than a politician's private email server. But it's not all fun and games. Prohibition has some nasty side effects. Remember that bathtub gin we talked about earlier? Well, sometimes it's not just bad tasting, it's downright deadly. Unscrupulous bootleggers, not you of course, might cut their product with things like methanol or other toxic chemicals. Suddenly, blind drunk isn't just a figure of speech. And let's not forget about the rise of organized crime. Guys like Al Capone aren't just making money, they're building empires. The mob's tentacles are reaching into every part of society. From the streets to the highest levels of government, it's like a real-life game of chess, except all the pieces are armed and dangerous. So what's the moral of this story? Crime doesn't pay? Please, if that were true, Washington, D.C. would be a ghost town. The real lesson is this: laws change, but there's always going to be someone willing to break them for a quick buck. Whether that's a good thing or not, well, that's above my pay grade. In the end, Prohibition was a weak and pathetic experiment that failed spectacularly. It turned millions of ordinary citizens into criminals overnight, gave rise to organized crime, and frankly, didn't stop anyone who really wanted to get faded. By 1933, even the government had to admit defeat, and the 21st Amendment repealed Prohibition faster than you could say, "I'll have a double." Now, if you've stuck with me this long, you must like this gangster shit. Or maybe you're on some kind of FBI watch list. Either way, why not hit that subscribe button? It's like joining a gang, but with less chance of ending up in concrete shoes. Drop a comment telling me what illegal scheme you'd cook up if you could get away with it. Don't worry, I'm sure the NSA isn't watching. Remember, the next time you're sipping on your legally purchased, overpriced, watered-down excuse for alcohol, pour one out for the bootleggers of yesteryear. We may have been crooks, but damn, we knew how to party. Now, if you'll excuse me, I hear sirens and old habits die hard. Stay thirsty, my friends. And remember, snitches get stitches, but subscribers get riches. In entertainment, that is.